Hello everyone, my name is Anil Poddar. So today I am going to discuss about unit number 1, the software problem and software process, lecture number 6. So the contents that we are going to discuss in this video is about prototyping and iterative development. Now what is prototyping? Now the goal is to produce a high quality software product. It focuses on activities directly related to the production of software. So always the goal of the prototype is to produce a high quality software product. So example here is design, coding and testing. Now a project's development process defines the tasks the project should perform and the order in which they should be done, as we have seen in the previous video. Also a process model will specify a general process as a set of stages in a project should be divided. Now due to the importance of development, various models have been proposed. Now this is one of the prototyping model. As you can see here, the requirement analysis, the design, code and testing. Okay, so this is one of the model other than the waterfall model. Now here development of the prototype starts with the preliminary version of the requirements. So here the version of the requirement specification document will be developed first itself. Now at this stage there is a reasonable understanding of the system and its needs and which needs are unclear or likely to change. So here only, instead of going directly to the design, here many changes are made to the requirement which are unclear. So requirement changes is done at the requirement analysis phase only. Now after the prototype has been developed, okay, the end users and the client are given an opportunity to use and explore the prototype. Now prototype means you act as a blueprint of the project. So they will give a duplicate project, or you can say a duplicate prototype, and after that user and clients will be given an opportunity to explore that prototype. So whether if you use that prototype, whether it will work or not. Now based on the experience, they provide feedback to the developers regarding the prototype. So once you have done the prototype means you can say a duplicate project, they will provide experience and feedback to developers regarding the prototype. Now based on the feedback, the prototype is modified to incorporate some of the suggested changes. Now once the client will give some feedback, some changes had to be made. So then the user and clients are again allowed to use that system. Also initial requirements will be modified to produce the final requirement specification. Here we can make the changes to the requirements more than once. This cycle repeats until the system is changed according to the user's feedback. So this process goes on changing and acts as a cycle. If there is some problem in the requirements, again it is changed, and again the user and client are given the prototype to work with. Again the user will provide the feedback. So this was about the prototype development. Now we'll go to iterative development. So as you can see here, this is a diagram showing the iterative development. Now in iterative development, the software is developed in increments. That is, all the phases are developed first. Again all the phases are again repeated. So each increment adds some functional capability to the system until full system is implemented. Now as you can see in the first step, a simple initial implementation is done. That is, design number 0 step, implement 0 step and analysis 0 step. So at once only we design, implement and analysis. So once the project is ready, okay, and if there is again some problem, again we go to the next phase. So in next phase what we do, again we redesign the project, again we re-implement it, and again we analyze it up to n steps. So in the first step is initial implementation, is simple implementation is done. Okay. Now if this subset contains some of the key aspects of the problem. Now if the first step contains some of the problem that are easy to understand and implement, it forms a usable system. Now the project control list is created that contains all the tasks in order that must be performed to obtain the final implementation. Now this list, whatever the list is given, it gives an idea how far along the project is at any given step from the final system. So from based on that list, we'll identify how many steps are needed to get the final system. Now iteration means continuous designing the project. So it ends with delivery of a working software system, providing some value to the end user. Now selection of requirements for an iteration is done primarily based on the value the requirement provides to the end users and how critical they are for supporting other requirements. Next one is how to deliver the project using iterative delivery approach. Another common approach for iterative development is to do requirements and the architecture design is the standard waterfall or prototype approach, but delivering software iteratively. Now the most time and effort consuming task is building of the system. Now if it is done iteratively, it takes a lot of effort. At the start of each delivery iteration, requirements to be implemented in this release are decided. So whatever the requirements to be implemented are in this release will be decided, and again the design is enhanced and code developed to implement the requirements. This iteration will ends with the delivery of working software system, providing some value to the end user. Also selection of requirements is done primarily based on the value of the requirements. So as you can see here, this is an example of iterative delivery approach. Okay, so user needs are taken as part of requirements and design is done. Okay, so requirements question plus architecture. After that the existing software development iteration will done. Again we select the requirements, enhance the design, build and test, and the last step will be a software release. Now the advantages here is progress of developed project can be measured. So as you can see here in the waterfall model, progress was not developed within each stage, whereas here at each iteration we check progress of each of the stages. So progress of each phase can be checked. Less costly to change the requirements. So changing requirements, it requires less cost as we are checking at each stages. Testing and debugging is easier during smaller iterations. So if you have less number of iterations, the cost will be less. Results are obtained early and periodically. So at each iteration we get the result. Better suited for large and mission critical projects. So if the projects are very large as well it is critical, this iterative approach is used. There are some disadvantages of this project. More resources may be required because we are always designing, we are again continuously designing, implementing and coding multiple times. So more of the resources will be required. Not suitable for smaller projects. So if there is a smaller project, if you apply the iterative approach, it will not be useful. So it is a time consuming. Defining increments may require definition of complete system. So if you want to define requirements, increments, you have to first define the complete system. Project progress is highly dependent on risk analysis phase. So in this video we have to study about what is prototyping, waterfall model and advantages and disadvantages of waterfall model. Thank you.